It's funny how time distorts things. The sting of betrayal, the sharp burning sensation that clawed at my chest, had dulled into a faint ache. Amber. I hadn't thought about her much in the past few years, at least not in a way that kept me awake at night. But the memories? Oh, they still lingered. Amber had been the epitome of girl of my dreams material. Tall, blonde, and radiant. She had this effortless beauty, like she had stepped out of some magazine, and the way she carried herself made it clear she knew it. Everyone adored her. And for a while, I thought I was the lucky guy who'd won her heart. We met during freshman year, at a party where I had way too much to drink and ended up dancing way too much. Picture me, the awkward guy at the edge of the dance floor, stumbling over my own 2 feet. But Amber, with her contagious laugh and a way of making everyone feel like they were the only person in the room, came up to me, grinning. She twirled around with a playful wink, and my heart immediately went into overdrive. From that moment, I was hooked. The next few months were like something out of a romantic comedy. We were inseparable. The inside jokes, late-night talks, impromptu dance parties in the living room, and all those little just us moments. I thought we were the perfect couple. She'd wrap her arm around me, resting her head on my shoulder, and I'd think, this is it. This is the one. But little did I know, Amber wasn't as perfect as I believed. It wasn't until later that I started noticing the cracks. Amber would be glued to her phone all day, always texting or calling someone, sometimes excusing herself for important stuff. She would go on spontaneous outings, mysterious and cryptic. When I'd ask who she was seeing, her response was always something vague like, just a friend, or don't worry about it. That should have been my first red flag, but I chose to ignore it. I was in love, or so I thought. Then came the night I found out. I'll never forget the sinking feeling in my stomach when I opened her phone, accidentally left on the kitchen counter. The text message from her ex, Jason, hit me like a freight train. It wasn't a, hey, how's it going, type of message. No, it was a full-on confession. You looked so hot last night. Can't wait to see you again. Miss your body. That was it. The truth I had been avoiding hit me like a slap across the face. Amber had been sleeping with Jason while I was at home, blissfully ignorant. And there I was, staring at her phone, wondering how I had missed all the signs. I wasn't just heartbroken, I was furious. But instead of confronting her right away, I did the one thing that would torment me for weeks. I said nothing. A few days later, we had the talk. And let me tell you, it was classic Amber. She sat down with this rehearsed expression, not a hint of guilt on her face, and told me she had feelings for Jason and wasn't sure where things were going with us. There was no apology, no remorse. She just looked at me like I was an inconvenience to her little drama. We should break up, she said. It wasn't a question, just a cold declaration. I nodded, feeling something dark simmering inside of me. I held it together, mostly. I knew right then she was going to run back to Jason. It was a sick joke, really. I agree, I said, as calmly as I could, pretending like it didn't hurt like 1,000 paper cuts. But deep down, I was seething. The breakup was mutual, or at least that's what Amber claimed. The minute we parted ways, I knew she'd be back in Jason's arms within hours, and she was. That night, my phone buzzed with her name, but I didn't answer. Instead, I sat in the dim light of my room, staring at the ceiling, plotting my revenge. Days passed. Then weeks. The anger began to fade into bitter amusement. Amber had gotten what she wanted, her ex, Jason, back in her life, and I was just a casualty in their melodramatic love story. But I was done. Or so I thought. It wasn't until I ran into Sarah, my old friend, that everything changed. Sarah had been my rock through everything, even though she was a little intense. With her fiery red hair, piercing blue eyes and a smile that could convince anyone to do something stupid, she was always the one who turned even the most mundane day into an adventure. I hadn't seen her in a while, and when I told her about the breakup, she didn't pity me like most people did. Instead, she smirked, and I knew immediately she had something devious up her sleeve. "You want to get back at Amber?" she asked, leaning across the bar with a mischievous glint in her eyes. "I've got a plan." At first, I hesitated. Part of me thought it was better to let things go, but the other part, the part that had been hurt, humiliated, was all in. I wanted Amber to feel what I felt, so I leaned in, ready to hear what Sarah had cooked up. "You're not going to like it," she said, a devilish grin spreading across her face. "But trust me, you'll love the results." The plan was brilliant in its simplicity. It turned out that Jason, in a series of bizarre coincidences, had made a purchase from a mutual acquaintance of Sarah's, someone who owed her a few favors. Sarah's plan was to have some fun with him, turning the tables in a way that would make Amber squirm. She knew Jason wasn't exactly the brightest bulb, and that was where we had an advantage. We'd get Sarah to pretend to be Jason's side chick, texting him every night, giving him the kind of attention Amber hadn't. She'd send risque messages, asking when he was going to see her again. "Can't wait to feel your hands on me when Amber's gone," Sarah would say. And every night, we'd hear Amber's frustrated shouts in the background, demanding answers, unable to understand why Jason was suddenly so distant. Each time we listened in, it felt like justice. Sarah was a pro at the act. She'd even send voice notes that were perfectly timed with Amber entering the room, causing Jason to panic. We'd laugh at every moment. But we weren't done yet. After a week of this, Sarah came up with an idea that was pure brilliance. We drove to Amber's house one evening, parking across the street. Jason's car was in the driveway as usual. The plan? We planted a pair of lacy panties in the back seat. Simple, effective, the perfect cherry on top of our petty revenge sundae. A few days later, I got a call from Amber. This time, her voice was hesitant, unsure. "Hey," she said as if nothing had happened. "I think I made a mistake. I want to come back to you." My heart didn't skip a beat. Number. It didn't even twitch. I was done. But I decided to let her twist in the wind for a bit longer. "I don't think so," I said, trying to keep my voice cool. "You made your choice, Amber." "What do you mean?" She sounded confused, as if I was the one who was out of line. "You think you can just come back after everything? After all that crap with Jason?" "Number, it's over." There was a long silence, then a click. She hung up. I felt a mix of satisfaction and relief. But what struck me more than anything was how much I had grown since that first day of betrayal. Amber had been my everything, and I had been her fool. But now I was in control of my own narrative. And that was sweeter than any revenge. In the end, Amber never called again. Jason probably didn't even know what hit him. But me, I moved on. I learned that sometimes the best revenge isn't in the heat of the moment. It's in the peace that comes from walking away and knowing you're better off without them.